Chapter 6. Create moments of unpredictability. Predictability can be comforting, providing a sense of stability and assurance, but it's also the hidden adversary of excitement in relationships. When every interaction follows the same rhythm, it becomes all too easy for the spark to fade, replaced by a dull monotony. To keep her intrigued, curious, and eager to engage with you, it's crucial to introduce moments of unpredictability into your dynamic. The Stoics recognized that shaking up complacency kept the mind alert and attentive, and this principle applies beautifully to building and maintaining attraction. By making small but meaningful deviations from your usual patterns, you inherently spark curiosity, encourage anticipation, and foster a sense of vibrancy in your connection. Unpredictability, however, should never be mistaken for unreliability or randomness without purpose. It's not about being erratic or causing emotional turbulence simply for the sake of novelty. Rather, it's the art of strategically breaking routines and expectations to keep the relationship fresh and mentally stimulating. For example, if you have a habit of texting her in the evenings, perhaps right after work, consider changing this pattern. Skip an evening text and instead send her a thoughtful message in the morning, wishing her a wonderful start to the day. Similarly, if your dates always follow a familiar script, dinner at a favorite restaurant, followed by a movie, try something new. Surprise her with a picnic in the park at sunset, or invite her to join you for a pottery class or a local music festival she's never experienced before. These deviations from the norm, subtle as they may be, deliver a powerful message that time spent with you is not only enjoyable, but also filled with potential surprises waiting around every corner. From a psychological standpoint, unpredictability activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, motivation, and the anticipation of reward. This is the same principle that makes people delight in games of chance, treasure scavenger hunts, or even those smartphone notifications that randomly appear. When she cannot predict your next move or guess exactly what your plans entail, she becomes more mentally engaged in your interactions. Each message or encounter takes on heightened significance, as she's never entirely sure how events will unfold. In essence, you become a source of positive suspense, an ongoing story that's continually evolving, and this keeps her emotionally invested and excited to see what comes next. One highly effective way to incorporate unpredictability is by embracing a spirit of spontaneity in your plans together. Instead of mapping out every detail of a date or activity, leave space for unexpected twists and turns. You might say something like, "I've got something special planned for us this weekend. It's a surprise," without revealing the nature of that surprise. This approach works like an unopened gift waiting on a shelf. She'll think about it in the days leading up to the event, her mind buzzing with anticipation and curiosity. When the day finally arrives, your effort to keep things fresh and surprising adds a layer of excitement that ordinary, predictable plans can't match. Moreover, unpredictability communicates something essential about who you are as a person. It reveals your flexibility, confidence, and openness to exploration. By occasionally breaking from the expected, you show that you're not bound by strict limitations and routines. This adaptability is inherently appealing because it suggests you're someone who can handle new situations, pivot when necessary, and bring creativity into ordinary life. You demonstrate that you have the courage to push beyond comfort zones, both yours and hers, inviting her into a narrative where growth and discovery are ongoing themes. The Stoics themselves believed that comfort and complacency dulled the spirit. By introducing a hint of unpredictability, you embody the very essence of what they admired, the ability to remain dynamic and engaged in the face of life's ever-shifting nature. However, it's vital to maintain balance. Unpredictability should never tilt into chaotic instability. Constantly changing plans, canceling last minute without explanation, or swinging from warm affection to cold distance will not foster intrigue. Instead, it can lead to confusion, mistrust, or emotional strain. The trick is to anchor your spontaneity with a foundation of reliability and goodwill. She should know that while your timing and choices might occasionally surprise her, your intentions remain sincere and consistent. Show up when you say you will. Follow through on your commitments. Within this framework of trustworthiness, those instances of unpredictability shine even brighter, becoming welcome variations rather than unsettling aberrations. Think of the relationship as a living piece of music. If every note, beat, and melody follows a rigid pattern, the listener grows bored. But when you introduce a surprising chord progression or a sudden shift in tempo, the composition comes alive. Unpredictability is your instrument for adding new layers and textures to the tune you're creating together. The shifts don't have to be grandiose or complicated, even subtle changes, a different time of day for a phone call, a handwritten note instead of a text, an unexpected side trip during a weekend getaway, can reignite a sense of adventure. Over time, this approach builds a dynamic, multifaceted connection that remains perpetually interesting. She'll look forward to every encounter with you not only because of who you are, but also because of the lingering possibility that something delightful might catch her off guard. This kind of intrigue fosters a lasting attraction that goes beyond superficial excitement. You become someone whose presence is associated with a gentle thrill, a welcome departure from the ordinary patterns of everyday life. Ultimately, the use of unpredictability is a subtle yet influential tool in your relational toolkit. It aligns with the wisdom of the Stoics, who understood that shaking up complacency sharpened the intellect and enriched the human experience. By consciously stepping outside the bounds of routine and predictable behavior, you invite her to join you on an ongoing journey filled with anticipation, excitement, and fresh discoveries. This approach doesn't just make her miss you when you're gone, it ensures that when you're together, the moments you share feel vivid, alive, and truly memorable. Chapter 7. Master the Art of Silence. Silence is often underestimated, yet it remains one of the most potent and versatile tools at your disposal. Far from being an absence of action, silence can convey depth, intention, and emotional maturity. The ancient Stoics understood the profound value of silence, seeing it as a channel for reflection and a means to maintain composure under pressure. By mastering the art of silence, you can subtly influence how she perceives you, fueling intrigue, respect, and a longing that stems from the quiet spaces between words. When wielded deliberately, silence can shape the emotional landscape of a relationship in ways that endless conversation never could. In relationships, the intentional use of silence can heighten the emotional charge of your interactions. After you shared a meaningful moment, perhaps a vulnerable confession, a heartfelt story, or a playful memory, resist the urge to fill the following hours or days with constant messages. Allow her the luxury of time to absorb what you've given her. This pause, rather than leaving a void, allows the conversation to breathe, giving her room to reflect on your words and actions. As you refrain from immediately following up, she's left with the lingering echo of your presence, which can often feel far more potent than any quick reassurance. Gradually, she will come to miss your voice, your unique perspective, and the certainty you bring into her life. Silence can also be wielded as a subtle but powerful form of tension building. For example, if she sends you a message, a thoughtful comment, a funny anecdote, or a simple hello, resist the reflex to reply instantly. By giving yourself space before responding, you create a gentle vacuum of anticipation. She may reread her own words, wondering what you're thinking, why you haven't yet responded, and what you'll say when you do. When you finally choose to reply, your message will carry more weight. Your silence, paired with a meaningful response, acts like a cinematic pause that heightens the emotional impact of your words. Instead of feeling like an automatic reaction, your answer becomes a considered, personal moment that intensifies the connection. It's essential to clarify that practicing silence is not synonymous with neglect or emotional manipulation. You should never use silence as a weapon, a means to punish, or a way to instill insecurity in her. Instead, Think of it as a tool to foster balance and mutual respect. Much like the Stoics, who found wisdom in what remained unsaid, your silence should signify strength, self-awareness, and confidence. It should never convey disdain or apathy. If done correctly, your silence will feel natural, like a restful pause in music that makes the next note more resonant, rather than a glaring gap or an act of emotional cruelty. Moreover, silence presents a perfect opportunity to turn inward. In the quiet moments when you choose not to speak, you can focus on your own personal growth and well-being. Use this space to revisit your goals, reflect on recent events, or engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Cultivate new hobbies, challenge yourself with personal projects, or simply take a peaceful walk to clear your mind. By investing in yourself during these silent intervals, you not only strengthen your own character, but also enhance the energy you bring into the relationship. When you next engage with her, you'll arrive refreshed, insightful, and balanced, qualities that she will undoubtedly notice and appreciate. To maximize the effectiveness of silence, ensure that when you do break it, your words carry genuine meaning and purpose. The interplay between careful, quiet, and deliberate speech creates a dynamic contrast that keeps her captivated. When your voice emerges from silence, it should do so with authenticity, sharing something that matters. This might be an honest compliment that shows you've been paying attention, a thoughtful question that sparks deeper conversation, or a comforting acknowledgement of her feelings. This contrast, the hush followed by a sincere statement, imbues your words with significance. You are no longer just talking to fill space, you're communicating with intention. By understanding and mastering this delicate balance, you're not merely making her miss you, you're deepening the entire emotional texture of your bond. The silences you create become fertile ground where emotional connections take root and grow stronger. Instead of relying solely on a steady stream of words, you rely on the nuanced interplay of presence and absence. In these quiet pauses, she has the freedom to recognize just how valuable your presence is, and this realization often resonates more powerfully than any continuous conversation could. In essence, the art of silence is not about withholding affection or being aloof, it's about understanding the subtleties of timing and emotional rhythm. Just as a painter uses empty canvas space to highlight the colors and shapes that matter most, you use silence to highlight the meaningful moments you share. Ultimately, this practice nurtures independence, emotional maturity, and a lasting appreciation for the time you spend together. By learning when to be silent and when to speak, you elevate your communication, affirm your self-assurance, and create a magnetic allure that makes her yearn for more of your company, both in words and in quiet understanding. You've now discovered 7 powerful mind games, inspired by the wisdom of Stoicism, to make her miss you like crazy. Each strategy, rooted in balance, self-control, and mystery, taps into the psychology of attraction to keep her thinking about you. Start applying these techniques today, and watch how they transform your relationships. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. Your journey is just beginning. Make every move count. Control your emotions, and you control the world around you. The Stoics mastered this, and today, we're diving deep into how their principles can make you unforgettable in her mind. Imagine her longing for your presence, her thoughts constantly circling back to you. That's what you'll learn here, 7 psychological mind games, rooted in balance and subtlety, that will make her miss you like crazy. Stick around until the end. These techniques work best when combined strategically. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your story in the comments. Let's make this an eye-opening journey for you. Chapter 1. Don't always initiate contact. One of the most powerful ways to make her miss you is by letting her come to you. When you're always the one reaching out, it can unintentionally create a sense of predictability and comfort for her. While comfort might sound like a good thing, too much of it can diminish the excitement and desire in a relationship. By pulling back and allowing her to take the initiative, you create an environment where she starts to notice your absence and truly appreciate your presence. This is not about playing manipulative games, it's about fostering balance. The Stoics, who mastered the art of self-control and moderation, believed that excess of anything could lead to dissatisfaction. Their wisdom reminds us that even in relationships, giving too much or being overly available can backfire. When you always initiate contact, you deny her the opportunity to invest emotionally. On the other hand, when you step back, you create space for her to miss you, which builds anticipation and emotional investment. By allowing her to make the first move occasionally, you send subtle but powerful signals. It communicates that you value your own time and aren't overly reliant on her for validation or attention. This sense of independence is inherently attractive. It shows confidence and self-assuredness. It might surprise you how quickly she starts reaching out when she realizes you're no longer always the first to text or call. What happens psychologically when you let her initiate? She begins to associate positive emotions with the effort she's putting into reaching you. Think of it like a reward system in her mind. When she texts or calls you and gets your attention, it feels more meaningful because she earned it. This creates a deeper sense of connection and keeps her thinking about you even when you're not around. But here's the twist. This approach works best when balanced with occasional moments of warmth and attentiveness. Completely withdrawing can come across as disinterest, which might push her away instead of drawing her closer. The key lies in finding the middle ground. Engage when she reaches out, but let her take the first step more often than not. An important aspect of not always initiating is how it impacts your own mindset. It reinforces your self-worth and reminds you that you don't have to chase anyone to prove your value. The Stoics taught that true strength lies in being grounded within yourself, not seeking external validation. When you internalize this mindset, your confidence grows and your interactions naturally become more magnetic. Imagine this scenario: you haven't texted her all day. She starts to wonder why. What's keeping you so busy? Her curiosity builds, and suddenly she feels an urge to reach out. When she does, she's excited to connect with you, and that excitement deepens her attachment. This dynamic only works when you genuinely have a life full of purpose and interests outside the relationship. If you're just sitting around waiting for her to call, the energy will feel forced and disingenuous. So, take this time to focus on your own growth. Dive into your hobbies, work on your goals, or spend time with friends and family. When your life is rich and fulfilling, your absence becomes a mystery she wants to solve. And when she finally hears from you, the interaction feels fresh and exciting because she's had time to miss you. Lastly, remember that this isn't about creating tension or anxiety for her. It's about establishing mutual respect and encouraging her to invest in the relationship. When she reaches out, respond warmly and engage fully. Show her that while you might not always initiate, you genuinely value the connection when it happens. In the end, not always initiating contact is a subtle but impactful way to maintain mystery and intrigue. It leverages the psychology of desire, where absence truly makes the heart grow fonder. Combine this with the wisdom of the Stoics, who taught us the power of moderation and self-control, and you'll find that creating space in your interactions will naturally draw her closer to you. Chapter 2. End conversations first. In the realm of psychological influence, one of the most understated yet effective techniques is ending conversations first. This doesn't mean abruptly cutting her off or being dismissive. Rather, it's about signaling that your time is valuable and that you're not always readily available. By taking the initiative to wrap things up, you subtly communicate that you have a fulfilling life beyond the relationship, which naturally piques her interest and keeps her wanting more. Think about it. When you're the one to end a call, text exchange, or even an in-person chat, it leaves her wondering what you're up to next. This lingering curiosity is a powerful emotional hook. It creates an air of mystery, a critical ingredient for maintaining attraction and intrigue. The Stoics understood the value of leaving an impression. They often emphasized brevity in communication to focus on what truly matters. By applying this principle, you're crafting an image of someone with purpose and priorities. Ending conversations first also reinforces boundaries. It's a subtle reminder that while you value her presence, you won't lose yourself in the process. This kind of balance is incredibly attractive. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally secure and don't need constant validation. By ending the interaction on your terms, you show that you are in control of your time and emotions. However, timing is everything. You don't want to end a conversation too early and risk appearing cold or uninterested. Pay attention to the flow of the interaction. If the conversation has reached a natural pause or if the energy starts to dwindle, that's your cue. Say something warm yet definitive like, "I've really enjoyed chatting, but I need to get going. Let's catch up soon." This approach leaves her feeling appreciated while still wondering about you. There's a psychological principle at play here called the Zeigarnik effect. It states that people remember unfinished tasks or interrupted actions better than completed ones. When you end a conversation first, you're essentially leaving a part of the interaction unfinished in her mind. She'll continue to think about it, replaying the last moments and anticipating your next move. This keeps you top of mind, even when you're not around. Additionally, ending conversations first gives you control over the narrative. You're deciding when and how the interaction concludes, positioning you as a leader rather than a follower. This isn't about manipulation or power games. It's about setting a confident, respectful tone for the relationship. True confidence lies in knowing when to step away, just as much as knowing when to engage. Consider also how this principle applies to digital interactions. Whether you're texting or chatting online, ending the exchange on an upbeat note before it loses momentum ensures she's always looking forward to the next message. Close with a positive comment or a simple wish for her day, then disengage. This leaves her with a pleasant emotional residue, encouraging her to think fondly of you in your absence. Combine this approach with genuine attentiveness during the conversation. When you're fully present, listening intently, and engaging meaningfully, ending the interaction first doesn't feel like rejection, it feels like a natural progression. This contrast between deep connection and brief absence is what keeps her longing for more. Over time, she'll learn to associate your presence with quality interaction, not just quantity. Remember, authenticity is crucial. If you're ending conversations merely to create a desired effect, it can feel contrived. Instead, let it reflect your genuinely busy, purpose-driven life. Have interests and ambitions that deserve your time and focus. As you become more invested in your personal growth, this approach emerges organically, without forcing yourself to perform confidence. As you master the art of ending conversations first, you're not only making her miss you, you're simultaneously uplifting your own sense of purpose, self-respect, and inner stability. It's a timeless strategy rooted in the wisdom of valuing what truly matters, ensuring that each interaction feels meaningful and each departure leaves her intrigued and eager for the next encounter. Chapter 3. Induce FOMO, Fear of Missing Out. Fear of missing out isn't just a modern buzzword, it's a powerful, deeply rooted psychological trigger. When someone feels excluded from something exciting, stimulating, or valuable, their desire to join in and share that experience grows stronger. This concept can be harnessed with subtlety and skill to make her miss you. By presenting a life rich in experiences, maintaining a hint of mystery, and letting her imagination fill in the blanks, you create a scenario where she's left feeling that she's missing something special every time she's not by your side. To induce FOMO, begin by investing in a genuinely interesting life. Immerse yourself in activities that genuinely resonate with you, travel to places that intrigue you, take on new hobbies or challenges, and pursue personal goals that stretch your capabilities. As you become more engaged with your own journey, share only enticing fragments of that world. A single photo from a scenic hike, a brief mention of an upcoming adventure, or a vague reference to an event you attended can all spark her curiosity. She'll find herself wondering what else you're up to and why she isn't there to see it. The key is subtlety. Oversharing or flaunting your accomplishments can come off as desperate and counterproductive. The goal is to let her mind work for you. Offer her scattered puzzle pieces rather than a fully assembled picture. If you go out with friends, post a snapshot of the surroundings rather than a group selfie with names tagged. If you have an upcoming trip planned, hint at it without outlining every detail. These controlled glimpses awaken her imagination, prompting her to envision all the fun, fulfilling moments you're experiencing without her. This technique works so well because it aligns with a fundamental human need, the desire for connection, inclusion, and significance. When she senses that your life is vibrant and multidimensional, her mind naturally drifts to what she might be missing. She'll imagine you laughing with new acquaintances, discovering hidden gems in unfamiliar places, or even just enjoying a quiet night at a trendy new spot, scenes from which she is conspicuously absent. The Stoics understood the importance of perception and how it shapes human emotions. By carefully choosing what to reveal and what to withhold, you're guiding her perception. You're not trying to prove your worth or inflate your ego, you're simply showcasing a life lived fully, on your own terms. Your authenticity ensures that this approach doesn't feel contrived. You're not manufacturing an illusion, you're sharing the real, compelling narrative of your life, just with strategic editing. Social proof can enhance this effect. When others clearly value your time, opinions, and energy, she'll sense your social currency. Surrounding yourself with people who respect and enjoy your company is a natural form of endorsement. It doesn't require manipulation, just a genuinely positive social circle that reflects your true interests. When she sees how others appreciate you, it reinforces the idea that spending time with you is both desirable and meaningful. Remember, inducing FOMO isn't about causing emotional distress or playing cruel games. It's about understanding a natural human inclination, the longing to be part of something exciting, and channeling it wisely. The best results come when your life is genuinely rich, layered with experiences you find fulfilling. The more authentic you are, the more compelling your subtle hints become. Ultimately, as you master this art of sparking intrigue, you'll discover a powerful dynamic emerging. She won't just miss you because you're absent, she'll crave the chance to step into your world, to share in the adventures you subtly reveal. The anticipation builds, and each new chapter you open, no matter how briefly teased, leaves her eager to turn the page. It's a subtle, respectful way to keep her interest burning and her imagination engaged, ensuring that she's not only missing you, but also envisioning a future filled with shared excitement and discovery. Chapter 4. Don't set up another date immediately. Patience is a virtue often extolled in philosophy, and nowhere does it prove more vital than in the subtle dance of attraction. When you've just spent a memorable afternoon or evening together, it can be tempting to capitalize on the emotional momentum and immediately schedule another meeting. After all, the conversation flowed, the laughter was genuine, and you shared a comfortable chemistry. Why wait? Yet, taking a step back and resisting the urge to lock in a future date right away is precisely what can elevate the connection from fleeting enjoyment to something more lasting and meaningful. This pause is not about playing mind games or enforcing rigid rules. Instead, it's about understanding human psychology and the power of anticipation. When you give her space after a successful rendezvous, you allow the emotional residue of the meeting to linger, settle, and deepen. Rather than hurrying to ensure her availability, you trust in what you've built so far, the good conversation, the shared interests, the subtle flotations, to stand on its own. Without immediately offering a follow-up plan, you create a mental and emotional gap that she will naturally want to fill. In those moments when she's alone with her thoughts, she'll recall the sound of your voice, the subtle expressions on your face, and the spark that existed between you. This reflective period often intensifies the positive emotions she associates with you, making her more eager to reconnect when the time is right. One of the keystones of Stoic philosophy is the value found in delayed gratification. The Stoics understood that rushing into things often diminishes their worth. By not rushing to schedule another date, you're adhering to a similar principle. The delay builds tension and anticipation, much like the way silence in music makes the next note more powerful. As she replays your previous encounter, analyzing every glance and recalling every witty remark, these positive memories become more vivid. In many ways, you're giving her the gift of a slow-burning flame rather than a flash of immediate fire that risks burning out too quickly. To put this into practice, approach the end of your date with both honesty and composure. You might say something like, "I really enjoyed our time tonight. Let's talk soon," instead of pushing immediately for another gathering. These parting words are warm and genuine, but leave room for natural progress. They communicate your appreciation without boxing you both into a schedule. This approach projects confidence, calmness, and a sense of self-assurance. It tells her you value what you've built, but that you're comfortable letting it breathe. Meanwhile, the waiting period is not a passive state, it's an opportunity. As the hours and days go by, invest in yourself. Pour energy into the projects that inspire you, whether that's refining a skill, pursuing a creative outlet, engaging with close friends, or diving deeper into your career or education. Cultivating your personal growth doesn't just serve as a distraction, it actively enhances your appeal. When you ultimately circle back to her, you do so as an individual who is continuously evolving, someone who brings more to the table than you did before. The confidence and substance you gain from these personal pursuits will show, even if you never explicitly mention them. When she realizes that you haven't been pining away impatiently, but instead thriving in your own life, her respect and admiration for you naturally deepen. By the time you do propose the next date, your offer lands on more fertile ground. The space you allowed has turned the soil, so to speak, making her far more enthusiastic about seeing you again. Something as simple as, "I've been thinking about this new art exhibit. Would you like to check it out with me this weekend?" will carry more weight now. The suggestion doesn't feel forced or rushed. Instead, it feels timely and well considered. The time apart shifts the dynamic. Instead of feeling like a routine follow-up, this next meeting becomes a carefully chosen event that reflects both your genuine interest in her and your discerning taste in how you spend your time. In truth, the anticipation you build by not immediately scheduling another date is a form of respect for her space, for the uniqueness of your connection, and for your own individuality. You're demonstrating that you don't feel the need to tie her down instantly, that you trust the strength of what you've already created. This trust is contagious. As she senses your confidence, she mirrors it, growing more confident in her own feelings. As the next encounter approaches, she'll feel an underlying excitement born of the gentle suspense you allowed to develop. Most importantly, the eventual meeting itself will be charged with a more profound energy. It won't just be another date scheduled in the flurry of a good night. It will feel like a carefully chosen occasion that both of you genuinely look forward to. In this environment of heightened appreciation, you can both be more present, more engaged, and more open to forging an authentic bond. The connection feels more meaningful because it's been allowed to unfold naturally, rather than rushed into a predetermined timeline. In essence, by exercising patience and resisting the instinct to set up another date immediately, you're leaning into a timeless principle that desire grows in the absence, and longing can be more potent than immediate fulfillment. Embrace this principle, and you'll find that the relationships you cultivate are richer, deeper, and more enduring. In doing so, you honor not only the wisdom of ancient philosophers, but also the nuanced psychology of modern romance, ensuring that each step you take together is layered with intrigue, respect, and a genuine sense of value. Chapter 5. Don't be overly available. Availability is a double-edged sword. While showing up for someone you care about is essential, it's all too easy to overdo it. When you're constantly ready to drop everything at a moment's notice, it might seem like you're demonstrating devotion, but in reality, this behavior can work against you. If you become a fixture who's always there, you risk being taken for granted. Ironically, too much availability can diminish your perceived value. Instead of eagerly waiting on her every call and request, consider limiting the frequency of your meetings and communication. By doing so, you create an aura of mystery and depth that ultimately increases your worth in her eyes. This principle shouldn't be confused with ignoring her or playing mind games. It's not about adopting a strategy of indifference or withholding affection purely out of manipulation. Rather, it's about striking a delicate balance that keeps her intrigued and engaged. The Stoics, who championed the virtues of independence and self-sufficiency, understood that clinging too tightly to external validation leads to imbalance. By showing that you have a life beyond the relationship, you subtly convey that you're a person of substance. Suddenly, a curiosity is piqued. She'll find herself wondering what you're doing when you're not around, and that curiosity can turn into genuine longing for your company. Another key benefit of being less available is the time and freedom it grants you to pursue your own goals and passions. When you're not constantly tethered to your phone or rearranging your schedule to fit hers, you open up space to focus on the things that matter most to you. Maybe you'll hit the gym more regularly, take up a creative hobby you've always wanted to try, or immerse yourself in learning something new. Each of these pursuits enriches your personality and adds layers to your identity. When you eventually come back to spend time with her, you'll bring that enriched perspective with you, making your presence more compelling and magnetic than ever before. This approach creates a dynamic that's both refreshing and enduring. By not always being at her disposal, you send a clear message: your life is full, textured, and meaningful, with or without her attention. This, in turn, signals genuine confidence and emotional stability, traits that are inherently attractive. She'll perceive you as a person who chooses to be with her, rather than someone who needs to be. This shift in perception transforms interactions from something routine into something genuinely special. Finally, when you do reconnect, make every moment count. Listen deeply when she speaks, laugh genuinely at her jokes, and share the parts of your life you've been cultivating while you were apart. Show her that while you're not always available, you deeply appreciate the time you do spend together. This contrast between your absence and your attentive presence is precisely what stokes the flame of longing and keeps her eagerly looking forward to your next meeting. It's not about disappearing or creating distance for its own sake. It's about preserving your individuality and authenticity so that when you do meet, the connection feels truly meaningful.